He's doing it on purpose.
Hi,
Not anymore.
Clinton.
Little rasp.
That's great.
You ready to go, Vivian?
Poor little fella.
Yeah, I'm ready. I just has been studying. Yeah, good. All right, cool. And we're live.
All right.
I guess we should start the show.
All right, let's do it.
Sure is a flying fool.
Is your megaphone on?
Who needs the web when you have the Hive? Ready for the latest buzz in all things VR? Well, fly those emojis for tonight's special behind-the-scenes episode. Learn how to produce your own VR show and build a vibrant community following. And now, here's the host of the Hive, Vivian.
Hey guys. And we're done.
I know her.
Hey guys.
I know her.
So we left everything unmuted today so that you can hear kind of what goes on. There's just like tens of thousands of us backstage, just trying to make this work every day. So, well, we're just gonna give you a little preview in case you want to do a show. Who here does an event? I know Stevie Boy does an event, right? Matt, you've done some in the past. Andy, Megan. So a lot of people do a lot of different events. So what's different about this one is it's all fabricated and fake. Everything is rehearsed. No one is real. Well, I'm Vivian of the Hive. I don't know if you guys know this, but we've had the Hive for quite some time. We've actually done like over 30 different events, but it's a talk show in VR for VR. The thing is that what is it about? That's the one thing is like, is there a direct focus? No, I mean, we're still learning. And it seems like it's easy because all you do is put on a headset, but there's a lot of things in the background that goes on that a lot of other people do to help. And so I kind of wanted to give you guys a preview of what that is like. So first, why would you do a show in VR? Well, I'm not like, I'm in my pajamas. And then immediately after this, I'm going to eat a bowl of cereal and go right to bed. So that's one of the perks of doing it in VR. Another
who's this?
People are children. No, people are all over the world, right? And we want to interview people like in New York, in California, or in London. And I'm in Chicago. So there's that too. So you can just have anyone meet you in VR. But there's another thing. Not everyone has VR, right? Like a headset. So that's where Altspace comes into play. Altspace is a platform that you can access on 2D on your phone, right? So it's available on pretty much if you have internet in a computer. So we've had guests who've never been in VR before at all. So that's kind of the cool thing about Altspace. Also, you can do all these really cool things on set to make it look like a real show, right? Like your audience up here, and there's a soundboard in the back.
Who's that?
So there is a child here, people. This is over 18. There's nudity.
It's not my child.
So here's another fun thing about VR. See, we unmuted everything today so that you can follow along with us. And one of those things is the audience, okay? You can't predict the audience. So usually at a studio show, you be able to, you can, kind of control the audience and what they say. Here, you can't. So while you're hosting a show, you also have to moderate a little bit as well. Oh, yeah. So there's another thing. So everyone is just staring at me and there's no sound and it's freaky. So there's another thing in VR you could do. You can do these things. And I want everyone to do them right now. That's how I get some feedback. So it's really weird and aggravating when maybe sometimes my jokes are just so awesome and I feel like they hit, but there's no laughter. It's like, that's cool. So that's really hard too. So you have to get these visual indicators going on. So right now you see the camera person here, right? And you see this camera, this is Vince. So it's like, oh, it's awesome. You can have the set, everything. You could just be on set. Like I don't have to like hold it in my stomach or anything. I can just wear the pajamas I'm wearing, which is awesome. But you have to consider how are you going to share your content. So right now we're live on Facebook, I don't know, on YouTube, but somebody has to play the camera. Okay, so you have to work with a team of people who can help you do things. Technically, I could spawn a camera too, but then if you move away from it, it will follow
Hi,
you.
YouTube.
And I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bring children into this YouTube. I apologize. I know how they are.
That hurts my
So
feelings.
this is all planned. Don't worry about it. So you have someone who's streaming, but
Allegedly.
has anyone ever streamed anything on their desktop before? Anyone? Yeah. Okay. So if it can pick up noise from everywhere, so the camera person has to be completely muted. And then how do I communicate something to him? Like if I'm, unaware that I'm inside the table, which is another thing you can do in VR, like someone has to tell me, right? But like you guys are too polite, and plus you don't know that that's wrong, but you shouldn't be in the table like this. But someone's got to tell me. So right now we are all in a voice chat so that I can mute in game and talk to the camera person, and the camera person can also go in game and also tell me, hey, can you move over a little bit? So that there's a few other, look at me, I'm so distracted right now because I also have to do these slides, this little screen here, the Hive Ready. So it looks like, just like a screen, right? But you want to make it look like a real show, but it's just a PowerPoint presentation that I can control, just like that. And usually somebody else has to control it. But then how do we give visual indicators, right? So sometimes I say like, okay, here's my signal. So you know to change the slide to something else. Or I can do it, but then I can't focus on hosting. So see, there's all kinds of different things. So anyway, let's talk about what we do. First, we're gonna talk about researching the topic. What we've talked about in the past is we've interviewed authors, doctors, we've talked with game developers and streamers. And so right now, since VR is such a new medium, you kind of can just do a little bit of everything and see what kind of resonates with people. And then finding the guests. So I sometimes go into the community because there's a lot of really cool people here, but there's also I'm also trying to get people into Altspace to kind of build the community up, right? So I use Twitter, and then my personal contacts exploit everybody. But if you wanted to do a show and you wanted to find guests, Twitter is a really good place. Anyone with VR, you can just message them, and they're really good about it. But it's really hard for just one person to do it. So I usually have somebody help me. So one person will be the producer of each episode. So each episode has one producer and then other people who do different roles. So we'll find the guest, and then you have to prepare them and get them ready. So if you get somebody like Yunji, if you wanted to come up,
Hey.
just gonna
I'm
have
here.
another person. Hey Yunji. So
Hi.
you guys know
Hi,
Yunji?
guys. Hello,
All right, so I would have to ask the guests, have you ever been on Altspace before? Do you know about it? And then I have to explain. No, of
So-
course you do. Go over here. I'm sorry.
No, I've never been on Altspace ever in my life.
And you have, she doesn't have hands. What system are you on?
Right now, I'm on a 2D client. I'm not even on VR right now.
Okay. A 2D client. So she's just on her desktop. And if you can hear Yunji's
Fancy
background,
talk.
she's at a restaurant right now. No, I'm kidding. Where are you? So I hear clanking in the back.
My family is currently eating a very late dinner, and I am sitting on a couch at the moment, being here with you, being comfortable and happy.
So you can hear all kinds of different backgrounds. So that's something that you have to consider as well, is bring them in, ask them if they've ever heard of Altspace. And for a lot of people, they haven't, if they're not really into VR. So some, I guess, have never heard of it. So you have to explain it's a social network, and there's going to be a studio, and there's going to be people here. And then make an account for them. And that's what we do, is usually make them the account for them so it's all ready to go, and they just log in. But then we have to show them how to use the controls. And also, Yunji has a lot of background noise. So she couldn't, right now as an admin, she'd have to sit in the back and just talk to us on Discord, right? And then there's also no hands, that kind of stuff. So we have to go through a whole session and train them how to use Altspace first. And so they have to learn all of that. And then we talk about interview questions. and then show them the space. So that's a lot of preparing for a guest. I've had guests who actually aren't really tech savvy at all. We also have people who are stationed in different parts of the world who will go to the guest and put the headset on them and teach them. So there's that. I interviewed an author once, and he came to my house, and he was in one room and I was in the other. So we had to work on the audio of making sure we don't hear each other in the background as well. Just going to show you guys some pretty stuff. So these are just like a set list of stuff. So I don't know if you heard of Discord, but Discord is this place where you can chat and collaborate with people. It's like a chat room. It has a lot of different channels where you can text and share files. Well, one of the things that we do in the Hive is we have a Discord that has a whole area that's just preparing for different events. Here I go. So we have to put up all these different things to get it ready. Like, is the live stream ready? Is there a room? Usually for these shows, we get an overflow of people, so you go into another room. But in this case, Yoonji told me just before the show that they don't have any devs available this weekend, so there is no front row technology. So everyone has to be squished in one room.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Yeah, or they will go into another room where there's a live stream of this, where Schmidt-Tech is right now. So, those are things that I'll have to think about too. Like, okay, I can't fit everybody in here. You have to create a live stream, that kind of stuff. Make sure the guest is here. I don't know if you saw 2 episodes ago, I had all of my guests here, but one of them couldn't get on stage, and the other one had a blackout in the middle of the show. So there was that. And then 2 weeks ago, my guest blacked out of their screen, and so then I was left with no guests for a little bit, and then he went into a different room. So it's like having to make sure that you're also prepared for that. This is the day of the event. Like, you have a checklist. I mean, all of your events may be different too. I'm pretty anal retentive, so I kind of want to make sure everything is prepared and ready to go. Did we do a mic test? Did we test the stream? And when I'm talking about the host moves to on-air channel. So if you've used Discord, you know that we have different channels available on it. So that little black box back here, the Hive Productions, there's a voice channel. There's Camera Ready and On Air. So everybody goes on Camera Ready before the show. That's the people who are moderating, people who are doing announcements like Jason, or if they're streaming the show, like Vince here, and the moderators. Sorry, I need somebody. And then right before the show starts, I move over to On Air. And this is really helpful. Right now, no one's in my ear. But if someone needed to tell me, move over to the side, or we can't hear you, you're gargling, you need to re-enter the room, they would just go over to that channel and just tell me real quick. And then I could also mute. So before we did voice channel, we had to message each other stuff. So imagine if you're hosting a show and a window pops up with a message that says something, you kind of have to talk, and you're like, and then read it and then respond back to the person. It's super distracting. So that's why we do a voice. Another thing that the Hive does is we have a Trello board where all of the producers and guests and Altspace team, they look at this board so that we can see what we need for the stage, and then brainstorming topics for who's going to be on the show. And then we color code, this person has confirmed, this person's interested but hasn't confirmed, this person has VR, this person doesn't, etc. And then as we do each episode, we have questions that build up that go to Altspace. So then we put that up there as well, and then we wait for them to just respond. So there's a lot of organization and trying to find people and then getting prepared for the episode. Yeah, so this is Altspace, and this is where I started off doing shows, but we also do them. We've done them in VR chat, and that's actually where I did it first. I did 5 shows in VR chat before coming back to Altspace. But you see, there's a stage there, and then this. If you watch The Walking Dead, does anyone know if that's a real show? Okay, yeah, no, I know it's The Walking Dead. So this is the author of the novels of The Walking Dead, and the background was created by one of the users in VR chat. He was like, oh, I'll help build a set. So that's another thing. In Altspace, there are stages that you can just choose to just kind of come on and like, I'll use this as a stage, or you can use any of the rooms to talk to people. But if you're trying to go for like a talk show feel, like that's what we were trying to do, then you're going to want to, you know, use a talk show space and then kind of make it your own. So for instance, this stage here was actually used with the Shane's editor, but this table here it's actually really nice, right? It was also made by another developer. And so we thought, well, we can use this table. It's a really nice looking table, except there's another problem, right? I have a menu, and everyone has menus, right? And that's how people can access, you know, emojis or check their mic or mute it real fast. Well, in this instance, if I'm hosting the show and I have someone there, I can't access my menu. All right, so you have to consider that. So whatever things might look cool and like, you know, you might like it, but then it doesn't work out for you. So we actually have another table that is just straight across, but then we asked the developer to hollow it out on this end so that we can access our menu. So yet again, another fun thing to consider. If you guys have questions, raise your hands at any time, and Yuji will help you with that. I don't know if you have a question.
All right, I got a question from JP.
No, she has no questions. It was an accident.
No, sorry, no questions.
All right, what about Michael?
Yeah, hi. You said you used Shane's editor to build all this?
Yeah.
In Shane's editor, how do I put like use my browser to go into like a white plane, you know, because I choose plane in Shane's editor by using the SDK.
Okay, so you're asking about how to use his editor?
It shows the point up front, but it shows the browser behind, but I can see like half of it.
Okay, so if you have questions about Shane's editor, they do an event, I think on Fridays, Saturdays. If you look in your menu, because I am terrible with the editor and I curse Shane every time, but there are people who know how to use it really well and can help you set it up. But I did use this. You guys heard the sound effects in the back, like the intro. That was the sounds were used, made with Shane's editor. This little sign that popped up right here, that was made with the editor. So you can do things like, we have buttons in the back. There's all kinds of different things that you can play around with to make like a real production. But that's not what we're doing tonight. so we'll have to go to the event.
You're saying
for that
in
one.
Shane's editor, there's more stuff.
May I ask you a question, please?
Oh.
Yes.
On it. I'm done.
But I can't tell you anything about that.
I'm gonna make an interjection here. Also, so anybody who's interested in the Shane's editor, you can also find a bunch of live streamed videos on the Altspace YouTube channel, and also Shane has his own grouping of videos as well, which goes into detail about how to actually use it. So if you're interested in that, please go and look for that on YouTube.
Yes, I agree. And somebody here had another question, but that's fine. They disappeared, it seems.
We have a question from Quentin next.
Yeah, they keep entering and re-entering. So
okay.
There's another echo. Yes, Michael.
Hey, so you mentioned the problem of the menu being on the like the table. Have you tried disabling the legacy input so you can like drag your menu around?
So yes, I've done that, but it's another thing is movement in here. And since I'm just used to this input, whenever I'm on the legacy, I feel like my legs have been chopped off. I mean, sorry, the new input. I apologize. That sounds so cruel, but it's true. So I'm sorry you're legless and I've just offended you. But yes, I know what you mean. It's just still like, I'll do something wrong and I'll beam over here. It's just so unprofessional when you're doing a show and then suddenly just disappear. Like, oh, oops, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That was so rude of me. things like that. And that's what happens sometimes when I'm not, and if I use a new input, and that's maybe just me, maybe I should learn a new one. But then also the menu. So if you go back to my previous episodes, I'm sometimes here and I like have to look away a little bit. And the thing about VR, doing a VR show, is that it's very forgiving right now because like 10 people watch it online. But we also know like the kind of setbacks with it. And so if you do a show, you're still like one of the first people to do it, and everyone, we kind of like learn from like the mistakes that we make, etc. But for these shows, like we'll get about 80 people, and sometimes up to 150 people to a live show, and then that's just here in Altspace, and then you have more people that are watching online. So you never know, like your audience can just grow, and so you kind of sometimes, like for me, I want to make it as good as possible, like while you go through it, you know, even though you're just learning, and people are forgiving. Like if I start to get gargly, you guys know I'll have to like re-enter. So we do try to do, like we try to address those things during the show, but you still want to do a good quality show, and so you have to consider like the table, the menu, and then how you move around. We had a guest who was very nervous all the time and did this a lot, constantly, over and over, and we couldn't follow. So we had to, you know, I had to be like, okay, you have to stop that. And that's like another thing, is like training your guests to also like how to interact in VR as well. So not just in Allspace, we have, you know, VR chat, and then here's Facebook Spaces. So with Facebook Spaces, have you guys tried that yet? It's really cool. I like it as a medium because Facebook is really popular, right? So you could just say, yeah, it's on Facebook. You'll have an instant audience. The problem with Facebook is that you have to be in VR again, like with all the other VR games. But also, it's kind of buggy when you're trying to stream a show in there. So when you have 3 or 4 people, it immediately starts to lag a little bit, and then you have to consider, how are you going to stream on Facebook, like in VR, like right now. So we actually had to have a third person in there watching us and streaming. But then we thought, oh, they're going to move their heads around, and that's going to mess up the camera. So then what they did was, one of us went live on Facebook. The streamer watched our live stream on full screen and streamed that instead, so that we wouldn't have a lag. So again, there's a lot of workarounds and ways to be creative to do a show. And it looks like we have a question, Quentin. I want to make sure I answer your question.
Yes. I was just wondering, have you met with any of the head developers of VR chat?
Have I met any of them? Wait, hold on, I have to.
Yes, and
Oh, I'm sorry, I had to mute you. If you had something else to say. No. Okay.
yes,
Well,
and
yes.
have they ever
Okay. Well, yes.
and have they ever thought of making the VR chat in a mobile version of the game
Oh.
for people
Okay.
that can't?
So I have no idea about their intentions. You can go and ask them. But I have talked with people in VR chat. They are super friendly. If you don't know, Allspace was supposed to close down, and VR chat was kind enough to like take us in and show us around. And they actually helped with this, you know, the stages in the show. They offered that. I didn't even have to like ask. They're really cool and approachable, and you can definitely ask them about that. Any questions about tonight's episode in Allspace? All right, just keeping that in mind. I do wanted to give time for you guys to ask questions, like off camera as well. I wanted to be able to like let you guys kind of walk around and tour, but we can't do that right now with the, I guess, with availability. But this talk show space, I think, will be on the event page if you ever wanted to test it out. Or actually, if you go into the Tongue Tied game, it also has like a stage as well. So, all right, who would like to do a show in VR now? Lane, just Lane, that's it. And Laura, and some people. I'm hoping that it will like inspire you guys to do a show and not just, like I guess my hope is that other people will want to host a talk show as well. So that we can have a lot of talk shows, like late night, and then we can banter back and forth. It would be so awesome. Okay, it looks like the event is coming to a close, and I wanted to make sure like we walk through everything here. And the other thing is this is a personal choice, but I'm just gonna like lay it out there that if you do a talk show, you should prepare everything as much as possible, and even make sure that you have people in the audience to ask questions. And I haven't done that the last 3 episodes, so it's difficult because then you don't get like any feedback at all. And you also have to talk with your guests, because some people, as soon as they get on here, if you like look at everyone all at once, it's like a little nerve-wracking, and they just kind of like completely shut down. So I've had that where like I'm interviewing someone and then they suddenly just like and then they don't go on. So you have to like rehearse and plan everything as much as possible, down to making sure people are in the audience and ready to ask questions if you need them to. Yay? No? Oh my God. It's just like a bunch of robots just staring at me with no mouths. I don't know what to say. No. One last thing before we end the stream, I want to say thank you to Tryhard, who did the sound bite or the intro song. When you start to do a show and you start to collaborate with people, a lot of people will offer their services. Like your friends will be guests on the show. People in the community will offer to moderate. So some people here are moderating, and then someone will volunteer to help you with YouTube. So you have to set it up there, and then you have to have somebody moderate the YouTube section of the comments as well. So people will do that.
Nice.
It is so quiet in here. So I want to say thank you to the people who helped with this episode today. It was just me rambling, really.
Gotta clap for real.
No, yeah, you can clap for real. Your controllers.
Oh yeah, let's clap for them. All right. Thank
No,
you.
no,
That
please
was
don't
good.
clap for real. That is depressing me. Oh no!
Aw. Then we'll clap,
I'm
we'll
kidding.
go back
All
to
right,
clapping
well,
for fake.
thank you. I hope this gives everyone a little bit of insight into making a show in VR. And I hope you guys plan your events soon and do your talk shows.
Woo!
Yeah. Woo. Thank
And then,
you.
so you can tell me when you end the stream. And then now that you're all not on camera, does anyone have questions? I wish everyone could come down here and just like stare at everybody. Come on down here.